Newblood Championships, where we see who is the ultimate newcomer in the main competition. Just like last year, there will be 6 heats before the grand final, and it's time to see who our first 8 machines are. Oh, I've been looking forward to the Newblood Championships. One of our more favourite of the competitions at Robot Wars. Anesthesia with their CO2 Flipper against the super heavyweight machine Toro and their CO2 Flipper. X-Mark Spot armed with a CO2 launching pad against Wheel of Misfortune and their ginormous flywheel. Snowdozer with a bulldozing blade and their pickaxe against the Dark Destroyer and their rear rotary blade. And the powerful CO2 Flipper of the Seesaw machine Falcon up against the flamethrower of Great Pumpkin. Let the Newblood Championships begin! Anesthesia Flipper. The design looks similar to Reigning Champ Sub-Zero. Of course, they have an advantage to them, which is no exposed wheels. They also have a strong CO2 Flipper and low wedge, as well as Shremek arms on the side to roll it back onto its wheels. That's the intent, anyway. Sadly, they've stated that the effectiveness of the arms is rather suspect. Toro Flipper. They were the super heavyweight champions of Battleboard 4.0 and now come to Robot Wars in the hopes of adding another title to their name. The CO2 Flipper is very powerful and can help itself right with ease, and it's also extremely hard to both flip and push thanks to it being a super heavyweight. But even overlooking that, there's a limited gas supply, so they'll have to be careful with their flips and make sure to time them right.
Roboteers, stand by.
Anesthesia with their CO2-powered flipper and self-rating arms at the side, and the super heavyweight machine Toro with their own CO2 flipper.
3, 2, 1, activate.
And Toro is heavy, so I'd expect Anesthesia to struggle, but they're flipping Toro with ease, flipping them up and over effortlessly, and Toro, they don't even have a chance to respond. Anesthesia has them, and another flip and down the pit. Well, that flipper on Anesthesia quite powerful. If it's able to flip the super heavyweight machine, look at this. The flip, and it sends them all the way into the pit. And Toro, I don't think will be coming out of there, although credit to Anesthesia, they're trying to get them out. And I'm not sure if Anesthesia has a way. Toro, they're stuck in the pit. And I don't see them coming out. Not really. They can try and fire the flipper, but it's not going to be enough to them, especially once Cease is called. The wrong angle to get out the pit. Anesthesia goes through, and our super heavyweight champions, Toro, sadly, crash out early. And that is a shame. Toro out, Anesthesia effortlessly flipping them out and through. Next up, X marks the spot, and Wheel of Misfortune. X marks the spot. Flipper. A very strange and wide machine with an extremely weird flipper. In fact, it doesn't even work like any flipper I've ever seen before. The X is actually on a panel that will fire and toss the machine into the air. Yes, the flipper is an actual panel. The wedge also has a 0-degree ground clearance, which also provides a very strong drive, and yes, the machine can right itself if flipped over. But the exposed wheels are an issue, and the width of the machine could also prove to be a problem. Wheel of Misfortune. Spinner. Not many machines on Robot Wars whose name is a pun on something, and absolutely 0 of them being a pun of a completely different TV show. And holy cow, that is a gigantic flywheel. That weapon is definitely going to be a lethal force going into the championship, although the exposed wheels could potentially be an issue for them.
Roboteers, stand by.
X marks the spot with their big wedge and their CO2-powered launcher, as we're calling it. And Wheel of Misfortune with the gigantic flywheel.
3, 2, 1, activate.
Shame we never got to see more of Wheel of Misfortune. The weapon seemed honestly rather impressive. X marks the spot, driving around to try and get their weapon into play. I don't think that's going to work, especially when the flywheel is causing problems. But they can out-push and out-drive Wheel of Misfortune, so maybe that's the key to victory for X marks the spot. Can they get Wheel of Misfortune down the pit? Well, they'll have to try. And another push, and very close to getting them down there. And a push final, and down the pit, and they've gone up and over as well. But it's X marks the spot who comes out victorious, with Wheel of Misfortune crashing out into the pit and going home early. And X marks the spot, giving themselves a better run, hopefully. One can only hope, but they're through now. Wheel of Misfortune, they crash out and are going home. Next up, it's Snowdozer and the Dark Destroyer. Snowdozer. Axbot. Looks like the protege of the house robot Shunt almost when you take a deep look at it. A two-wheel drive box with a big front plow and double-sided pickaxe to strike down on the top of anyone they happen to be pushing, to which its pushing power is very strong. However, the wheels are very exposed, and not overly sure if the axe is capable of righting them. Kinda doubt it. The Dark Destroyer! Spinner! Built by the Dark family and a rather interesting build too, the front turns to control which direction the machine moves, and it's also what propels the machine forward and backward too. They've also informed me that the blade on the back is an actual weapon and not for the machine to take off. That's good to know. I'm also aware that the drive for the machine is a bit suspect, and there's no Shreemek.
Robot ears, stand by.
Snowdozer, with their front plow, their rear wedge, and their giant pickaxe. And the Dark Destroyer, with the rear rotating blade and the very weird drive system.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
And I think Snowdozer will have the advantage as they're already across the floor and slamming into the Dark Destroyer. And the Dark Destroyer doesn't really seem to know how to respond. They go up and over and right themselves and are now caught on the pit. Their heads stuck over the pit. And the Dark Destroyer, I think, about to go down, and they and Snowdozer follows. Well, the Dark Destroyer. Look at this. This was the push from Snowdozer. Send them onto the side. The blade got them back up. Another push, and over to the pit. And then one final nudge from Snowdozer saw the Dark Destroyer fall into the pit, and then they reversed themselves down it. That's just brilliant. But Snowdozer, the last to hit the pit. The Dark Destroyer, they're out. Snowdozer, they go through. And in very convincing fashion as well, I might add. They dominated the entire fight. That's why they're through. The Dark Destroyer, they're out. Next up, Fulcrum and Great Pumpkin. Fulcrum. Flipper. They took some inspiration for their machine from Buzzy Bee in the Last Wars, making their machine seesaw-shaped, but armed with a high-powered front-hinge flipping arm. The team also seems to claim that their machine is champion material. But their wheels are exposed, and their design offers a serious ground clearance issue at the rear. Great Pumpkin! Flamethrower! A low wedge that offers great pushing power with a flamethrower to scorch the underbelly of the opposition, which could potentially burn out the electronics. The bigger pumpkin on top is mainly for comical purposes, but can help the machine still drive and even bring it back onto its wheels. But the exposed wheels will prove to be an issue.
Robot ears, stand by.
Fulcrum, with their CO2-powered flipping arm that has a lot of power behind it. And Great Pumpkin, with their flamethrower. And they have a lot of combat experience from Robo games. A lot more experience than Fulcrum does in robot combat.
3,
and on paper,
2,
you'd think that would mean something, but Fulcrum very low front wedge that can get underneath Great Pumpkin and flip Great Pumpkin, who does not have a self-ready mechanism. Oh! Don't know what that was, but that's what I meant! Flipping over Great Pumpkin! And they cannot right themselves, and flung away again into the wall. And Great Pumpkin in major trouble, flung away at That was brilliant, look at this! Whee! That's the best thing I have seen all day! That's brilliant. I've never seen a machine go rolling across the floor, over the wall, and out of the competition like that. That was fantastic. Fulcrum through Great Pumpkin are out. This is how round 2 of the Newblood Championships looks for Heat 1. Fulcrum will be taking on the Axe and Bulldozer Plow of Snowdozer. But first, a flip off against the Flipper of Anesthesia and the flipping launcher of X marks the spot.
Roboteers, stand by.
Anesthesia with their CO2 powered flipper that rather easily defeated the super heavyweight machine Toro. And X marks the spot with their CO2 launcher that didn't really get to use it to their full potential against Wheel of Misfortune. Maybe this fight will be different.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Well, let's see, it's another flipper fight. It's a question of who's the faster of the two. And X marks the spot. Maybe quicker than Anesthesia, but Anesthesia the first to get their attack in and are already causing problems for X marks the spot to up and over self-rights, but Anesthesia right now are on top and have the great advantage here. They can throw X marks the spot out the arena. They have that power, but X marks the spot rights themselves. And now to come back in, and Anesthesia nearly messed that up. They were lucky nothing bad happened until that moment, and that's the end of it. Anesthesia flipped down the arena. They're not coming back from that one, and oh, I don't know why you're firing your weapon there, X marks the spot. You're through. Look at this. That's the end of Anesthesia. The one fatal mistake. And it sent Anesthesia out of the arena, and it sent X marks the spot through to the Newblood Heat 1 Heat Final. And honestly, it's a lot further than what they did in Battle of the YouTubers. This was actually where they crashed out before. Now they're at the Heat Final, and who will be joining them? Snowdozer or Fulcrum?
Roboteers, stand by.
Snowdozer with their front bulldozing plow, their rear little wedge, and their big pickaxe. And Fulcrum, the seesaw design with the CO2 powered flipping arm that quickly got rid of Great Pumpkin in the greatest style I have ever seen in Robot Wars. I still can't get over that. And Fulcrum, right now in trouble. I mean, pressurized by Snowdozer and that pickaxe. But is it doing any real damage? I am not too sure. Actually, I don't think it is. But Snowdozer, right now on top. Fulcrum coming back and flipping them away and onto their side. And I think that's going to be a problem for Snowdozer because they can't come back. Look at this. There's the flip, and actually nearly sent Snowdozer out the arena as well. They just grinded on the wall. That's quite impressive, and Snowdozer flung away again and colliding with the arena wall, and Fulcrum's flipped themselves out the arena, and then they flipped themselves back in. That's brilliant. Look at this. There's the flip from Fulcrum. They flipped themselves out the arena trying to self-right. And then 1, 2, 3, whoop, and flips themselves back into the arena. And that's not something we've seen since Freewave was last here. Freewave was the first machine we saw do that. And Fulcrum now the second, and Snowdozer seems to have ground to a halt here. Is there a problem with Snowdozer? They're not moving. They're flipped over, although that wasn't as powerful as we've seen. I think Fulcrum is running out of CO2 here. Snowdozer finally rights themselves with their axe. Flipped away again. And Snowdozer, I do believe, are immobilized. Their drive isn't going. And Snowdozer again a flip. And again, but it's not enough to flip them. You can just hear the CO2, or lack thereof. I think the weapon is out of gas, meaning Fulcrum only has one option, and that's to throw Snowdozer down the pit with a final nudge. And that's the end of Snowdozer. They're gone, and it's Fulcrum going through to the heat final to join X marks the spot. And the only question now is, can Fulcrum replenish their CO2 for that fight? What happened to Snowdozer? They just stopped working, I think, battery problems. I think that's what happened. Sadly, that's where Snowdozer crashes out in the Newblood. This is our heat final. Fulcrum and X marks the spot. Who will be the first into the Newblood Grand Final? Our heat final, and it's another flipper frenzy. I think we've already had, but whatever. Here it is. X marks the spot and Fulcrum. Quick recap how these two got here. Starting with X marks the spot, who had a bit of trouble dealing with Wheel of Misfortune at first. Got a bit of a bang, but didn't really do anything. This was the final nudge that sealed the end. A little nudge there for good measure, and that was the end of Wheel of Misfortune down the pit. And then Anesthesia, who were on top most of the fight, giving X marks the spot a lot of problems, but that charge there, that sealed Anestesia's end, and one flip from the launcher of X marks the spot saw the end of Anesthesia out the arena. Fulcrum, meanwhile, took on Great Pumpkin, flipped them over, and then a push and flipped them, and they rolled out of the arena in spectacular fashion. That was absolutely fantastic. And then being pressurized at first by Snowstorm, similar to X marks the spot with Anesthesia, but Fulcrum got rid of the side, nearly had them out the arena, but that flip was all it took. And then one final nudge, and Snowstorm fell down into the pit.
Roboteers, stand by.
X marks the spot with their CO2-powered launcher plate in their front wedge, and Fulcrum, the seesaw design, with their CO2-powered flipping arm with a lot of power.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Test of speed and ground clearance, I think this will be. And look at that! X marks the spot, nearly flung out the arena there. Can Fulcrum come back? Yes, with a little help from X marks the spot. And X marks the spot flip themselves over. And now, whoa! Nearly flipped themselves out the arena there. Look at this. Look at how far they threw themselves. Had they been any further, they would have thrown themselves out the arena. Now, Fulcrum being pushed by X marks the spot into the arena wall. X marks the spot. Seemingly more on top. They try to self-right. Fulcrum counters, then they properly self-right. X marks the spot, throws himself over again. Fulcrum flips. And Fulcrum underneath X marks the spot again. And now they're spinning around on the spot. And they fire their weapon and fall into the pit. Well, that's the end of X marks the spot. Fulcrum goes through. And X marks the spot. Oh! Flip themselves out. Wow. And now Fulcrum to try and self-right back. Can they? Nope! They can and flip themselves out the arena, and not at a spot they can work themselves back into it. Fall comes out, and X marks the spot goes through. Wow, look at this. X marks the spot, fired their weapon, they fell into the pit. Thought that was the end of it, but no, they fired the weapon again and flipped themselves out of the pit. That was brilliant. And then the spike, as X marks the spot came in, flipped them over, and then Fulcrum fired the Shremek, threw themselves out while simultaneously getting X marks the spot stuck on their weapon. Not often we see a machine like that, but it's Fulcrum going home. They've proven the potential their machine had as they catapult their opponents out of the arena and make the grand finals. Look forward to seeing how well they do. But until then, take care, and I'll see you next time. Farewell.